Infinity Pool. Let's go. Okay, so this movie, I'm gonna say off the top, this movie is weird. There's no two ways about it. It's a strange movie. Does that mean it's terrible? Yes. No. 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 That's not what it means at all. It is just a unique offering, and that is worth a look. This film is directed by Brandon Cronenberg, son of David Cronenberg. Stars Alexander Skarsgård, Mia Goth. But let's not kid ourselves about what this is about. Everybody who came to this movie, I'm sure, probably came to see Mia Goth. This is not a surprise. If you've seen X or Pearl, you know what time it is. You know she's got the chops. This is really about seeing what kind of mischief she can conjure up, and she conjures up some mischief. If you don't know anything about this film, like I knew very little about this film except that Mia Goth was in it. My sister, of course, she be finding these different types of films that she wants me to watch with her. And this is another one that again, probably wouldn't have been on my radar to watch had she not said, "Yo, let's watch it." So we watched it, and it was something else, man. This is about a man who and his wife, they visit some resort somewhere overseas. It's a luxury, nice place to hang. He's a writer, and who's on this trip looking for inspiration for his next book. He hadn't written a book in about 6 years, and so he's there trying to find some inspiration. Meanwhile, he meets this woman, played by Mia Goth, who is a fan. She's read his book, and she wants to get to know him better. So this is the premise. This is what we got going on. But what we discover is that after an accident that Alexander Skarsgård's character is responsible for, he's then arrested and tried, and we discover that this country that they're in has a means to clone individuals responsible for different crimes and things, so that the actual person doesn't suffer the consequences, which is typically, at least from what we know from the film, death. So it costs a lot of money to do this procedure, and if you have the money, you can clone yourself, and that version of yourself can suffer the consequences. Interesting concept, just based on that alone. What we come to find out, though, is that this means of cloning yourself ends up being a way for characters in the film to commit crimes, and if you have the money, they can clone themselves and then have their clones suffer for the crimes they committed, and they can continue ad nauseum committing crimes until the hotel resort place closes for the rainy season. In the middle of that, or at the heart of it really, is the Mia Goth, who we find out, if you know, going into this movie, it's not really a surprise where her character goes and what she's about, sort of what she represents. What's surprising, though, at the heart of it is what the film has to say about our fascination with violence. And I think, in a way, and this is, I'm probably reaching. I don't know that this is what director Cronenberg or his team had in mind, but this is sort of what comes up for me is so our fascination with violence, because it can be quite graphic in certain scenes, and also the this notion of masochism. Uh, Alexander Skarsgård's character comes across as a man who has a bit of a pathetic sort of aspect to him, at least from the outside. And you know, at least off top, he's trying. He doesn't mean for bad things to happen, and he's not a bad person. But what comes up is that perhaps he feels like he deserves some of the jacked up stuff that happens to him in this film, and by cloning yourself and then sort of reveling in a way in the punishment that your other self is experiencing, there's something to that. And maybe it's not masochism. Maybe there's something. There's a he's not actually physically experiencing it, but also there's something there. It looks like there's a cost to his experiences at this resort. However many times he clones himself, and that clone gets messed up. Is it all? Do you enjoy it all that much, or maybe you were always like that, and the resort just brought that out of you? It's possible, that's what happened to our main character in this movie. Yeah, it's something to think about. It's something it made me think. I came across some commentary, and I didn't know there was an NC-17 version of this film. Apparently, there's an audience out there who wants the NC-17 version. I am not one of those members. I feel like the version I watched was quite raw enough. I feel like I might have watched the NC-17 version I didn't know. Because it's pretty graphic, not only in its depictions of violence, but also in its depiction of sex and sexual acts. And, you could make the case that you didn't really need the sex or violence to last as long as it did in the film. And perhaps if you're the filmmakers, there's a reason for why it is the way it is. Personally, if I were making the film, I would have probably cut off a good 2/3 of some of the scenes, not just because it's off-putting so much as it is you're watching a long scene of something that you already know is happening, something that feels too long and really slows the story down. Really, that's just my feeling on it. I'd be curious to know what your thoughts are if you've seen the film. Right off the top, I neglected to say this because I feel like when you first watch the film, the first shot, or one of the first shots, cues you in on the kind of experience you're going to be having. So the opening sequence is a conversation between Alexander Skarsgård's character and his wife in the dark. It's almost like being in a womb. This is what came to me. You're in a room, a womb. And then the windows open, the sunlight comes in, daytime comes in, and now you're being born, and you're in this new world, this new life. After that scene, the camera shows us sort of an establishing shot or establishing sequence of the resort and where we are. But the way it does it is odd. Well, it would be odd in another movie. In this movie, though, it feels fitting. After having seen it, you go, oh, it's weird off top because the camera does this revolving shot, like it's like this is the correct way to look at it, right? But the establishing shot does this. The camera starts like upside down and it does these weird twisty things, and it does, like for a really long time, without any cuts. You don't really see too much of the. It's really strange actually. You go like, what is this? This is weird. I think the whole sequence lasts about maybe 3 minutes, maybe, of just weird camera turning and weird things. That immediately lets me know this is going to be not an experience that's usual for when you watch a movie like this. And what is a movie like this? What does that mean anyway when I say that? So it's branded sort of as a sci-fi horror picture. And As a horror picture, that works. Sci-fi could work too, and I think the way this film blends the genres is not expected, not how you expect. I think that introductory establishing weird camera shot is a good sort of subtle cue into the film. It's almost like it's you're, which I imagine that's what it would be like when you're born and you're coming into the world. Everything feels like that probably. Like the camera does these weird things. You got all these people, gushing over you and wrapping you up and this is. It feels like, hey, this Alexander Skarsgård characters come into this new situation. Never mind, they'd been there already for some days prior to the start of the film. But if you look at it within the context of this film, that feels like a read that I think is valid. That he was born into this new space and has these experiences that immediately, he's been stuck in a rut. He's been a writer who's been in a rut for some time. What happens to him while he's at this resort sort of wakes him up a little bit and sort of shakes him, and I would imagine that that's enough. If he was looking for some inspiration, the events of this movie, I think he's got enough inspiration for at least 2 or 3 books. So the acting, again, this is the Mia Goth show. I mean, Skarsgård is great. I mean, we all know he's a fantastic actor. No disrespect to him, but the draw of this film is Mia Goth. She is one of the most electric young actors working today, I think. She has a presence about her and she's so committed to what's happening. She's so good. She makes you feel stuff, which is that's what you want from your actors. You want your actors to make you feel something, make you fall in love with them, make you hate them, make you whatever, right? Maybe you don't want that. I don't know. When I watch a movie, when I feel something, that's a win for me. Even if I don't like the movie or I think it's weird or whatever it is, I think you can come away with some positives that make you think. So Mia Goth, she's great, and the way she just flips in between certain modes of her character in this film so quickly, and it's more than just editing. Editing obviously helps, but you can tell she's got the juice. And of course, if you've seen X and Pearl, you know this already. This is not a surprise. What I'm saying is that she's bringing that same level of energy to this film, and it makes the film that much more riveting, and you feel that much more pity. You feel badly for Alexander Skarsgård's character because of the way this homegirl's moving, and yet Alexander Skarsgård's character is putting himself in these situations. That's why I mentioned the masochism situation. There's a part of it that feels like he wants this. Like he wants everything that's happening to him. He's buying into the feeling of it because he's new. He's a newbie to this life. We find out there are other people who have been to this resort multiple times and who are not new to the culture of how things are happening. They've committed crimes before and they've done these things and cloned themselves before. Alexander Skarsgård's character is invited into this group. He's the new guy, and he could have left sooner, right? And then especially when you think about how the film ends, it makes you question what happened to him. So something happened to him between when the film started and when the film ends, and we're not really given a clear answer. But the implication is that he's been changed, probably permanently. He's hooked on the activities, that he's hooked on something there. And as a result, we don't know what happens after the film ends. We know he probably stayed there at the resort, but when it's closing, it's closed during the rainy season. He's been irrevocably changed, and not for the better. And by the time you watch the film, I think when the film ends, you feel almost like him. Like, that was a weird film, man. I don't like it, but again, I don't think it was bad. I think the the cinematography is unique. I think the color grading in the film, it's poppy. It's like certain sequences. I'd say there's a psychedelic quality to how certain things transpire in the film, and I think particularly there are a couple sequences when characters take some hallucinogenic drugs, and the way the film portrays this feels right. It feels appropriate, and it makes it feel like you've also ingested some psychedelic stuff, and it's really trippy. And so I think I give the film points for that. Look, Infinity Pool is a different movie. You know, it's got the Cronenberg guts and gore. If you're familiar with David Cronenberg's work, this movie has a little bit of that for you with Space to Spare. I don't know that I can wholeheartedly recommend it, but I think if you're a Mia Goth fan, watch it for sure. That's what I'll say. If you like Mia Goth, you'll like her performance in this movie. I don't know that you'll feel the same about the movie as a whole, but Mia Goth, if you're a fan, watch it. And that's going to do it for this review. If you've watched this whole thing, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. Yeah, that's it. I gotta go. I gotta run, but I'll be back with another review pretty soon. In the meantime, I'm out of here. See ya. Oops, gotta get it right. Here we go.